The world needs Bhutan. I think more than Bhutan needs the world. The world needs to know this way of thinking, this way of behaving. We can make the list. It seems superficial to say low carbon footprint, Buddhist spirituality, community, kindness. They seem like words, but they're not just words. Here, they are a real way of living, and the world needs to pay attention.
So I'm here with our Entrepreneur Podcast, and today we have a very special guest from the US, Mr. Bill. I would not want to introduce everything about him because I would want to know more from you. So Mr. Bill is here, so please introduce yourself and let us know what you do in Bhutan.
My name is Bill Yosses, and I am a professional chef. For most of the last many years, I have been a baker and pastry chef. I also have a great interest in education, children's education around the subject of nutrition and health, which may sound contradictory, being a baker pastry chef, which is usually around desserts. But it is something that I drew from my time working for Mrs. Obama when I worked at the White House during the Obama administration. And we came to believe that while there may not be anything such as a healthy dessert, there is a healthy lifestyle that may include desserts. And I think it's very important to emphasize that fact because when we talk about healthful living and food as medicine or better food, some people interpret that as meaning we're taking away pleasure. You can only eat, vegetables and brown rice, which is, all vegetables and brown rice are great, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of other things, a lot of things which are pleasurable and which are maybe not really healthy for you. But the key is frequency, so don't eat desserts too much. Portion size, small portions, and when the quality of the ingredients is good, you're satisfied with a smaller portion, a small piece of cake or a candy or some sweet. And that leads to the third part, which is the integrity of the sourcing. So get the best products that you can and buy from the best purveyors that you can, bakers or caterers or restaurants. That is the way that you can include desserts and still have a healthy life. That's kind of my message and has been my message for a long time. Here in Bhutan, I'm thrilled to be part of the Desung Skilling Program. I came here and I have 20 students in the program. It's called Advanced Baking and Pastry. So we do make lots of cakes. Pretty much the repertoire is French pastry. That's my training. Even though I'm American, I trained in France. And we do make some American style desserts as well. And lately in the course, we have also introduced a lot of breads and what I would call savory baking. Things like empanadas or quiche or a number of kind of breads which are moving towards something like focaccia, where we have pizza, basically. So I'm thrilled to be here. It's been a very exciting exploration for me.
Thank you. Talk about desserts. I always struggle with desserts because, like you mentioned, I'm always thinking about, is it good or bad? And even for my children, I always have the question, like, is it good or bad? Yeah. But you have sort of unraveled everything for us. So now I think our audience will be much more conscious about consuming something, which is, like I said, it's not about, not everything is bad. I think it's the portion size, the frequency and all that. We'll move on to the second portion of our conversation, that is with regard to, you've been here in Bhutan for, how long was that?
2.5 months.
2.5 months, and you've been trying to explore Bhutan, right?
Yes.
The culinary, the gastronomic landscape.
Wonderful.
So what is your opinion about food in Bhutan?
First of all, when I first came and I tasted the chilies, it was a little shocking, as you can imagine. And now I can't do without it. It's sort of, they say it releases endorphins and sort of gives you energy, which I believe. So that's the first thing that one notices when you come here. Also, I'm just so pleased, like if I was a nutritionist and I was writing a prescription for my patients, I would say have Bhutanese food. Lots of vegetables, a small amount of meat, and of course lots of delicious red rice. And all of these things, this is a prescription for a healthy lifestyle. In most cases where I've seen it, there's local vegetables. So we follow the season, we follow the locality, the local purveyors. And I've discovered vegetables here which I never had seen before in my life. And that brings me to another one of my real missions in life, is to encourage diversity in what we eat. It's not what you had one day, whether you had a chocolate bar or whether you had a fried chicken. It's what you eat over a lifetime. It's days, weeks, months, and how you pace yourself, what you are consuming is what can lead to better health. And certainly in Bhutan, there's so many choices, so many places and there's some Western influence. I think I see many pizzas, very well-made pizza, breads, which I don't believe is typically Bhutanese, except maybe for some of the Indian breads like naan. But pretty much wherever you go, you can eat well and you can eat in a healthy way. So, but that's where I bring up this subject of diversity, because it's not only we really need diversity in our diet, but diversity is the key to healthful food in general. So as a chef, I'm very interested in the agricultural practices. And it's very important that diversity be part of an agricultural program. So I work for a foundation in the United States known as the Stone Barns Center for Food and Agriculture. And there we have discovered that one of the most important things that we can really concentrate on is the soil. Knowing what's in our soil and encouraging a biodiversity in the soil is what makes plants more healthful, and as a chef, I will say more flavorful. So I'm not a scientist, and I'm not a horticulturalist, but the studies that I have done show that the more diversity in the soil, the biodiversity, the better the plant lives and the more flavorful it is. It's just like in our own body where there's a lot of studies now about our microbiome. There's over 1 trillion species that live inside of us. We're really just kind of a host for that sort of miasma of bacteria inside of us. And 1 trillion species, it's mind-blowing. There are more species inside of us than on the entire planet Earth. So when you think about it, that diversity, and also it's not a mystery that we have the same kind of diversity in the soil. After all, the soil and the plants were here a long time before we were, hundreds of millions of years, and we evolved in conjunction with that soil. And the studies now show that this biodiversity in the soil is what allows plants to develop their own immune system. So plants have an immune system just like we do, and if we compromise that immune system by putting fertilizer, by adding chemicals, by adding nitrogen, by adding pesticide, fungicide, the plant's immune system gives up in much the same way as if we take too many antibiotics. If we're taking antibiotics, we eventually develop a resistance to those antibiotics and they don't work anymore. Same for the plants. If we are constantly feeding them these artificial means, these synthetic means of protecting themselves, the plant gives up. On the contrary, what we do at Stone Barns is we only use natural compost, some minerals as well, like crab meal and some ground up oyster shells for minerals. But we don't even do very much of that. We just start at the beginning of the plant's life, we'll give compost. That gives a really big boost in the beginning. But as soon as the plant starts to develop, get towards the fruiting stage or the flowering stage, we stop everything. The plant then must develop its own resistance, and it does that through the diversity in the soil. That's why soil analysis is so important for us. Through those millions, trillions of resources in the soil, the plant is able to draw that in and defend themselves. What we're learning about plants is so incredible. We know that plants, trees included, communicate with one another. If they're in a forest, if there is an approaching blight or fungus, the trees alert themselves and the other plants as well, and they develop defense system. They become more acidic, or they become more alkaline to defend themselves. And part of what we're learning is that there's a fungal network. So we're all familiar with mushrooms, and the mushrooms in Bhutan are the best I've ever had. There's a fungal network in the forest where trees communicate with one another. They communicate, they know if there's danger coming, and they actually even feed carbon to one another through these fungal networks. The book is called The Secret Life of Trees. It's fairly recent, fascinating. So you got me on the long conversation about diversity there, but that's why I'm thrilled about the food in Bhutan. There's so much diversity, so much flavor, and it's not just based on having a big steak like we do in America, which is delicious, but again, only once in a while.
Wow, wonderful. I learned a lot about biodiversity in general. And that's also something that at the top of my head, I'm trying to relate the work that I do. For me, my passion is about, and I strongly believe in what you just mentioned. Probably I may not be able to articulate the way you did right now, but I'm deeply passionate about the produce that we have in Bhutan. I believe our products have some sort of, I'm not able to describe everything, probably you described it better than me, but that's the whole, the gist of what I do. And I'd always try to promote local products, not because we want to go local and support local, but also the food that we consume. A majority of our products that we have, that I promote, is mostly in food, right? So the products that we are able to access are products that come locally and also very climate friendly, meaning the carbon footprints, we don't really import, we're really trying to source it locally. And also the soil that we have, I believe it is very rich in nutrition. It has never been sort of commercialized. Thank God for that. And now we're really trying to do a lot of a soul searching journey as to like, how do we define the Bhutanese food? And you mentioned it's like the best mushrooms. Now, what would be your opinion on the food industry in Bhutan, right? And especially now we are trying to move towards a little bit of commercialization that's going to more packaged food. Where do you think Bhutanese food, like in your opinion, where do you think we should sort of propel forward? What should be our identity? Like how should we narrate this?
Well, first of all, I admire what you do a lot, and I really appreciate your efforts towards that, supporting local agriculture and bringing the best quality products.
Right.
It's not only a question of personal health, but of global health, as you know. And so by supporting this kind of agriculture, we can reverse a lot of the trends. Over 30% of carbon in the atmosphere is caused by the way we are growing and food and livestock, particularly livestock with cattle. There's an overdependence on cattle, and we're not even using the meat that is produced. We're just, in my own country, there's only a few cuts of meat that are popular, and the rest goes to the wayside, dog food or something like that. So this is really it's a major concern in terms of global health as well as for our personal health. So what I'm finding is there's these incredible products available in the market, and they're not always available. I mean, there's a strawberry grower in Bhutan who has fantastic strawberries, but it's only available a month or two. Well, so be it. Let's look for the next thing. Like right now, there are fantastic sweet potatoes. Right. The sweet potatoes in Bhutan are some of the best I've ever had. So in the class, in the DSP class, we're making this beautiful purple sweet potato bread. There's something about potatoes and bread that make it soft and really luscious, a crust on the outside but soft on the inside. They're wonderful. As Julia Child used to say, if I do say so myself. And another thing I find exciting about Bhutan is there's certainly this culinary heritage. There's this pride in the local products, in cooking. Restaurants are popular here, but also home cooking is very popular. I can see many people just spend a lot of time on drying, storing, marinating, adding the certain mix, the special mix of spices and chilies, and sometimes even bringing in Indian curries and these dals, which are D-A-L-S, so popular and so delicious. Those are all things which make for a really wonderful culinary experience in Bhutan, and which are so exciting for a chef to discover. I've discovered so many new products here in Bhutan, and I've been doing this for 40 years. I've been doing cooking for 40 years. It's unusual for me to really find a lot of new things. Wow. Last week somebody gave me these dogwood fruits that are really fantastic, just luscious. And then don't get me started on cordyceps. I'm so convinced that this is like the medicine of the future. When I came to, believe me, when I came to Bhutan, first of all, the altitude, and I wasn't used to it, and I have asthma, so I was coughing a lot. Someone gave me cordyceps. I had like 3 or 4, and then I had the tea, and my asthma went away.
Wow. So,
okay, we can say maybe it's a placebo effect.
Yeah.
But I don't think asthma is really treated with placebos. I've had it for a long time. And I took the Western medicine, albuterol, this spray. Didn't help. So I'm giving credit to the cordyceps, and thank God for the Laya people and the high mountain culture that creates them. But that's just one example of this incredible Bhutanese culture and history that I want to celebrate. And one of the things you said was like the brand, like maintaining those cultural values, maintaining those traditions, celebrating them. And for me, I can see why people here have this pride of place. When we talk about global markets, Bhutan already has a brand, and it's a very powerful one. I'm not saying people around the world in the global market recognize all the intricacies, all the subtleties, but they know Bhutan. They know the name. And the one thing that stands out, and it's a powerful message, is the negative carbon impact. No one else has it. No one. On a globe of 7 billion people, only one country has achieved that. And we can say, well, it's a small country, it's an isolated country, but it could so easily have gone the other way.
Right.
It could easily have not happened. And thank goodness that you have leadership and you have a family that really cherishes this tradition. It's very exciting for me, who I come from this background of health and ecological health that I've had for a long time, but particularly when I worked at the White House with Mrs. Obama. Her program was called Let's Move, and it included exercise and food, particularly for children. And that has really informed, that has become like my mission ever since I left the White House, to teach desserts, yes, and baking, but show that it can be part of a really healthful approach to life.
Wow. And you mentioned about the cordyceps. You are the first person who ever, like upfront, who actually validated the power of cordyceps.
I'm sorry, but it works. Well, you know, this is funny because I work with the medical community off and on, and even the most die-hard medical scientists, and I've worked with many of them, they are open to this integrative, holistic medicine. It's fairly recent. I mean, 15 years ago, a doctor would tell you, oh, don't talk to me about herbs, Don't talk to me about Chinese medicine. Don't talk to me about acupuncture. Not anymore. They maybe don't know why, because unfortunately it's not really studied enough in medical school. But some things work.
So speaking about this, I mean, probably in the West they call it the TCM, the traditional Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
Right? And Bhutan, I think Bhutan has always been the word we were actually called Menjong, which means the country of the herbs in south in the Himalayan region, right? And that's one area that I feel like Bhutan could really leverage and really get this out of. And actually, this could be I always say Bhutan has this humongous opportunity. It's a gift to the world, you know.
Yeah.
It's just that we haven't really explored enough right now.
Yeah.
But also understanding that this could probably redefine, you know, wellness and health.
Yes.
And Bhutan, do you think, like, I don't think we have the answer for that, but it's something that Bhutan could actually, you know, it gives fresh new eyes to understanding health and wellness.
Absolutely.
One thing is the negative, the whole clean air, the clear sky, the lush green forest in Bhutan, but also the other herbs, you know, the soil nutrition. Again, you go back to soil nutrition.
Yeah.
So, again, to this question again, where do you think, like because you're here for like 2 months, I think you'll be spending some more time here. Like, what would be the process? Like, what do you think if you were to take this up and say that, you know, I'm back in the White House and I'm speaking to the Obamas about Bhutan. How would you describe the whole soil nutrition, the food and the herbs from Bhutan?
Well, let me start with the 300,000 level foot view. You know, I asked doctors, why is that? You know, right now there's only 2 medical schools in the United States where actually cooking and food are taught to medical students. So how can a doctor really give advice to his patients about how to eat if they don't know how to cook? You know, there's a real gap, and we're in 2024. You know, how long is it going to take to catch up? So I asked other doctors who are interested in this, and they said, you know, the field of medicine is based on pathology. We study disease and how to cure it. It's not the other way around. We never discover, there's no medical field that studies wellness. If you're well, fine, you're not my customer.
Got it.
And I don't mean to, I'm not being cynical. I'm not saying that they don't care about our wellness. They do. Doctors are devoted. It's a really hard job. But the whole science is based on pathology. It's based on disease. How can we, you know, ease this disease? It's only recently in cancer treatment where immunology, or the patient's own immune system, is accessed to cure cancer, which it does. I mean, there's also genetic studies, certain genetic background that we have, which can help us to cure our own cancer. But there are many cancer medicines now which are not just radiation and chemotherapy. They are enabling your own immune system to cure. And in Okinawa, for example, there is a university there and others in Japan where they are studying the activity of fermentation. Fermentation, which is a long process. There's many kind of fermented products in Bhutan as well as throughout the world. Almost every culture has a culture of fermentation. And they are seeing that some of these fermented products are actually able to attack cancer. And it's curious too, when you think about it, like, why does every culture in the world have a fermentation history? Obviously because it preserves food, so people early on learned that you can make cheese by fermenting, you can make wine, you can make kimchi, you can make daradara in West Africa. These are very fermented foods which have great health benefits. So that's the first thing I would say, is that, you know, the doctors will tell you, we study pathology. You know, we're starting to learn about how do we study it the other way around, but it's new. And But let's think about medicine. Where do most medicines come from? Natural compounds. They come, and it's said that in the Amazon or here in the Himalayas, there are thousands of herbs and these treatments that are done and used in the villages, which are very effective, but no one has studied them. Very, very beginning. We're at the very beginning of this period. So I agree with you that that is something that Bhutan can leverage. And as you said, it's already part of the culture. So in Africa, I worked on a project in Africa, and one of the great vegetables sold there is moringa. And so when I go to stores, I go to your store, I go to many stores in Bhutan, there is moringa available. It's a green vegetable, it's delicious. I presume that it's added into many of the curries that I have, and same in West Africa. Turmeric is big, trendy now, is trendy everywhere, and depending on the quality, and I see it here in so many places. So these are things which Bhutanese have eaten for hundreds of years, maybe more, and which really lend themselves to feeling better and just living better.
Wow. I think we did cover up about the food systems in Bhutan, the potential that Bhutan has. Moving forward with your Project Hope, what are the plans? Like, where do you think, especially like, because the food is such a huge topic. We're talking about the wellness, we're talking about culinary, we're talking about traditional food, fermented food, we're talking about beverage. There's a huge gamut of categories over there, right? So where do you think, I wouldn't say where, but what do you think where do you think you would want to plan ahead, like especially for Project Hope?
I would love to encourage an expansion of that program. I think there's so many skills that really the world's chefs are just learning now. You know, I come from a background of high-end dining, fine dining we call it. I would like to see that what has developed in fine dining, especially in this category we're talking about of healthful living, which includes fermentation, which includes local foods, and foraging. So foraging could include the herbs that you mentioned, but it's also wild foods that are not cultivated. Fiddlehead ferns, I see them here everywhere. My first visit to the Centenary Farmers Market, it was during mushroom season, and there was a bag of what in France we call chanterelle. And I think they were $2 a kilo, which is 1/50th of what they would have cost in France or America. Let's celebrate those ingredients and that method of cooking, whether it's local, whether it's foraging, fermentation. And at Stone Barns, we use a lot of tree saps. We're very interested in products which grow naturally in different environments. That happens to be Hudson Valley. It's a different ecosystem than in Bhutan. But I'm dying to learn more about these traditional medicines and just traditional dishes in the villages that you know, the grandmothers know about, but have not really been explored. So that would be an area I'd love to see that kind of study become part of the DSP program, which I'm a big booster for. I don't know of any other country in the world that has this program for its young people. Every country you go to, you hear about youth unemployment. Oh, what can we do? 25%. The youth are in the streets. Well, here it seems like somebody just said, well, let's have a vocational program. Amazing. I mean, it's really quite simple when you think of it. And yet, so many other countries have not come to that conclusion. So I think it's an absolutely fantastic program. It's, as they say, it's a skill set and a mindset. The skill set is very real, whether it's air conditioning, repair, auto repair, forge, carpentry, or baking. The skill set is real, but the mindset is the most important part of it. It means I can improve myself. Life is forever about education. And I'm 70 years old. I'm still learning. I'm learning from my students. I mean, whether it's about history or a new recipe, or they come up with a new version of a traditional, whether it's local Bhutanese cuisine or European. So it's very thrilling for me to see this DSP program as it grows.
Wow. And before we end our session, maybe if you have some, I believe in Bhutan, our biggest backbone, the largest backbone is our farmers who are working the farms. And I work a lot with our agriculture industry and a lot of entrepreneurs, processors, primary collectors, aggregators. And I really believe it's the backbone of the country. So what would you advise to our farmers, knowing the food that we have, the whole gamut of these lush products that you came across?
Yes.
What would be your advice to our farmers out there?
Well, I wouldn't presume to give them advice, because that life is very hard, and it's in service to humanity. I have great admiration for farmers. I do in my own country. Just that, be expressive, farmers are, in general, they're modest people, they're humble people. They're people of the land. And everywhere in the world is the same. Their satisfaction, their happiness comes from seeing things grow and selling them to the public. It is it is genuine, and it is one of the most authentic lives that you can live. I would just, if I were to give advice, I would say, talk about what you do. Teach your customers. And unfortunately, a lot of people are with farmers, they deal with middlemen. They don't deal with the end customer. So my encouragement would be, as much as possible, come to the farmers markets. Not everyone can do that, because it's a 24/7 job. But as much as possible, communicate with your customers. Tell us about seasonality. Tell us about soil. Tell us about why you chose this seed and not another seed. It grows better in your soil. Let's discover that together. It is thrilling to have when Mrs. Obama was at the White House, she planted a garden. I don't have a green thumb. But I was amazed that from the first year, there was 1,200 pounds of produce from a plot that was half the size of this room.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know if people in cities, we've become distant from our farmers. If you're in a city, get to know a farmer. Take a trip to a farm. Buy products from the farmers directly. You will be amazed at what a room this size can produce. A lot of food. And there's so much space, around the globe that is not being used. Thankfully, in Bhutan, 60% is sequestered off for forests, which is great. And it's not even, this is something that really always drives me crazy, is horticulturalists or USDA, Department of Agriculture, they always want to improve the yield. It's all about the yield. Oh, we can get more corn out of this acre. It's not necessarily the yield. I work with a man at Cornell University, which is a great agricultural university, Dr. Terry Acree. 40 years ago, he proposed talking about, okay, there's the yield of the acre or hectare. What is the flavor product? How much, let's create a system where we know how much flavor comes out of the field, because that's a reflection of nutrition. So as a chef, I really love that kind of thinking, because And as customers too, we can think about that. We all have taste buds. We all know what tastes good or a vegetable that's bland. Let's insist on flavor. And that will communicate to farmers and be a way to talk to farmers. They know what their products taste like. They know when they've grown something that's really delicious. But unfortunately, they're not always encouraged because they want to plant this seed which yields more. But the yield does not necessarily give us nutrition or flavor. So what I'm advocating and that's why I would say to the farmers that your question is based on, let's end user and farmer get together. And let's circumvent middleman and government agencies, because that's how change will come. That's how the customer demanding more flavor, the customer demanding better quality produce will help the government agency understand that it's not just yield. It will help the middleman understand that it's not just packageability. I mean, that's one of the things that GMOs were created for. Oh, if we can make a square tomato, we can fit more in the case. That doesn't work. That's not helping us. That's just helping that person in the middle. So let's make a collaboration between eater and farmer. And I think that's an important path to the future.
Thank you, thank you. And before I forget to ask you this question, my last question would be, how was it like working for the Obamas?
So I always say, what you see is what you get. There is in some cases, a politician or celebrity or person that's well known, they're one thing before the camera, they're another thing behind. Not the Obamas. Heartfelt, authentic, natural. And let me give you an example. So their daughters were 7 and 10 when they moved into the White House. There's a lot of help in the White House because obviously they're busy. So there's butlers, there's waiters, there's chefs, there's florists. Kids were not allowed to leave a dirty dish on the table. During the entire time that they lived in the White House, they cleared their own plates. They insisted upon that. The other thing is, President Obama, leader of the free world, if he was anywhere east of the Mississippi, he was home for dinner at 6:30 p.m. I don't care who he met. I don't care what was on the table. He was home for dinner with his family at 6:30 p.m. Wow. Now it helps if you have your own 747, wow. But it's the mindset again. Yeah. Family, raising children was his number one job. Wow. But he still was a great president. Yes. Let's face it. I'm a big admirer to this day. I mean, both of them are as eloquent as can be. Their analysis of modern politics, I think, is second to none. And they're people. For me, both of them are on the level of Nelson Mandela or one of the great thinkers of modern times.
Wow, thank you. I mean,
thanks.
That was such a great insight into the personal lives of Obama from Mr. Bill here.
They're very real.
Thank you very much for the time.
My pleasure.
You have here.
Thanks for having me.
I definitely take all the message to heart because I think Bhutan needs that. I think oftentimes we don't realize how fortunate we are, born as a Bhutanese, and also the fact that we live in this very special country, and the land and the soil, it matters. It matters a lot.
And the mindset, the world needs Bhutan. I think more than Bhutan needs the world. The world needs to know this way of thinking, this way of behaving. We can make the list. It seems superficial to say low carbon footprint, Buddhist spirituality, community, kindness. They seem like words, but they're not just words. Here, they are a real way of living, and the world needs to pay attention.
Thank you. That really summed up, like, the world needs Bhutan. I mean, what a powerful statement. Thank you, Mr. Bill.
Thank you.
And we hope to continue our conversation.
Can't wait.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.